love you when you're happy. I love you when you're sad. I love you when you make mistakes. I love you when you're mad. And it's a love that doesn't change no matter what you do. You can always count on me, loving precious you. I love you.
And now Jason is days away from achieving another ambition.
In 5, 4, 3, 2.
The board of electors on your interview day were absolutely unanimous. We are so lucky to have you. You are the best in the world.
The best in the world.
In terms of the research that you do.
Here's his new boss at Cambridge.
We do have a lot of work to do, but I feel really optimistic.
There's never been a better time to be a psychopath. The board has been set to your advantage. Do you lack a conscience? Does it please you to see people suffer? Do you get a thrill when world-famous academics fall for a con game that a 5-year-old could see through? Well, we've got a deal for you. It's open to applicants who are black, gay, female, disabled, Jewish, or members of any other sacred caste. Bring us your most ridiculous lies, and we will turn you into a god figure that makes wet panties and liberal white women. They will catapult you to the highest positions at the most prestigious institutions in the world. Tonight on Disaffected, we look at the abject, craven stupidity that made a world-class con man named Jason Arday into a historic embarrassment for Cambridge University and all of Western academia. Peer through his eyeliner and dreadlocks with us to see who really rules you and how very, very stupid they are. Then we're going to pull the mask off the distaff side with a lesson in how the most unstable and evil women fool millions of moms into hypnotizing their children with babbling baby talk. Yes, we're talking about Miss Rachel. It's August 9th, 2026, and I am your host, Joshua Slocum. I'd like you to meet Jason Arday. He's one of the most remarkable men you're likely to hear about. If it were 40 years ago, he's the kind of polymath that you'd read about in a Reader's Digest feature. Jason Arday's story has everything: a hardscrabble upbringing, disabilities to overcome in a world that didn't believe in him, and a series of personal breakthroughs that put him at the top of a game that everyone said he would never be able to play. The top spot he ascended to was a professorship at Cambridge University, teaching sociology. And he was the youngest black professor to win such an appointment. Back in 2023, when he got appointed, CBS News wrote about Jason Arday when he had just taken on that role. And their headline, "Meet Jason Arday, Cambridge University's youngest ever capital B black professor who didn't speak until he was 11. Can you imagine not being able to speak a single word to anyone until the age of 11? Most of us can. You see, Jason was born in London in 1985 to parents from Ghana. He was diagnosed with autism at 3 years old. Seems like that might explain the mutism. After all, one of the markers of severe autism is the inability to speak. It must have been amazing for all of those pent-up words to finally start flowing right at age 11. Especially if you've been told that you'll never live independently on your own like a normal person. Quote from CBS News in 2023. "Not many teachers at school had any belief in me. Educational psychologists and behavioral therapists were very robust in their assessment that I would struggle later in life and that I would need assisted living." That's what Arday told CBS in 2023. Well, those very robust assessments were very wrong. Jason Arday may have struggled, it's true, but in the end, he excelled. You can't go much higher than a professorship at one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in the world. Cambridge was founded in England in 1209. After struggling through, but achieving, 2 master's degrees, all while having to work at grocery stores to get by, Jason made it in academia. The hard graft didn't turn him bitter either. Arday says that without it, he wouldn't be the teacher that he is today. The teacher who understands that the most important thing a professor can do for a student is this. Quote, "There's a whole vocabulary of ways to engage people pedagogically, and there are so many different ways in which people can learn. What is really important is instilling belief in people." Again, 2023 interview. When that belief is instilled, it can carry you to heights undreamt of. Arday knows, because that's what happened to him. Here is a summary of his remarkable achievements. The Guardian recently rounded some of these up. So we'll first let's give you a look at Jason. There he is. For those of you on audio, he's tall, slender black man wearing black eyeliner with very neat dreadlocks that reach all the way to his knees, and he's wearing athleisure, a tracksuit. I guess, what is it they call it? Oh, trainers, they call them in England, what we call sneakers. So starting at age 17, Jason Arday said he has been running marathons for charity. And over those 20 years of running marathons, he has raised £5 million personally. That takes a lot of hard work. What kind of hard work? Well, for example, Jason Arday says that he ran 30 marathons in just 35 days in one stretch. His most grueling stint was running 600 miles in only 6 days. That's incredible, considering that the most talented runners in the world that are in the world records can barely get close to that. In an earlier Guardian newspaper profile, also from 2023, the reporter was impressed, and not just with Jason Arday's athleticism. Quote, here's the reporter writing to you. "Reaching across the table, he grabs a book, flicking it so the edges of the pages fly through his fingertips. He's showing how his mind works, like a flip book with moving figurines. For him, each page is like a still from his life's montage." Next quote. "Since he was a child, before he was able to form language, he was able to retain those images. Quote, I can go back to all these thousands of experiences," Arday says. "When you're cognitively impaired, you make sense of things in different ways." Well, that Guardian writer who did this profile in 2023, Anselm Ebulu, was quite taken with Jason Arday. Here he is, relating what he saw. "With neatly twisted locks that trailed down to his waist, dark-rimmed eyes, and a shine to his skin that suggests he knows where the moisturizer is kept, Arday cuts a sleek, meek figure. Sleek, meek, neat, petite. You can see the dark-rimmed eyes in his devotion to facial moisturizer in this 2023 appearance on Britain's breakfast television show called This Morning.
It was at 18 when you started to learn to read and write, so much later than everybody. When you started your degree, you had the reading age of 13. You were funding that degree with a job at Sainsbury's and Boots. There was technology that helped you in order to dictate essays, so lots of sort of helping you to get to this point. But getting that job after that, going to work as a teacher in PE, that was the first time that your eyes were really open to this sort of inequalities amongst ethnic minorities.
Yeah, that was the first time, and it's kind of a term I use around kind of throwing people off the scent. So I noticed that a lot of teachers, a lot of educators were actually curtailing the ambitions of people from particularly disadvantaged backgrounds. So, multi-ethnic, racialized backgrounds in terms of class, particularly socioeconomic inequality as well. And one of the things that was really interesting for me was to see how that ambition was curtailed. And I guess it sparked something in me and became the stimulus for thinking about ways in which we could change that and really think about how we kind of garner and nourish kind of, in many respects, ambition, the ambition of pupils and how learning spaces can actually be counter to that process.
serious nods, sad, concerned faces. It's hard to be black. Wet eyes, too. Look at her. Look at her outfit. This is a fully grown woman dressed like a little girl. We're going to see more of that. This is normal now. And the excessive filler that everybody's using now. The sort of inequalities, kind of curtailing, sort of in spaces. It's hard to be black, but you do have to persevere. Let's go back to that Guardian profile from 2023. Quote, "He is dressed simply, but with purpose. He loves tailoring," he says, "and will be fitted for a suit on Savile Row next week, as he is being awarded an honorary doctorate at Solent University in Southampton. Indulging in tailoring is one of the few things he does for himself." Arday had quite a media season in the early part of 2023 when he achieved his Cambridge professorship, but he was striving for excellence for years before his gifts were professionally recognized.
I just turned 18 when I learned to read and write. And I was part of a program, actually, which it doesn't really exist anymore, but it was called 7-Up at the time. And 7-Up is basically when they follow you over the duration of your life. So they follow you at kind of 7, 14, 21. And I was pulled up.
The British documentary series called 7-Up followed the same group of 14 children beginning at age 7. When 7 more years passed, the documentary would do another episode and catch up with the children to see where they were in life. The series continues today, as the original children are now in their 70s. What makes Arday's participation remarkable is that the series was launched in 1964, 21 years before Jason Arday was born. And while the rest of the kids in that group, because it's all the same kids, are 70 years old, Jason Arday is only 37 today in 2026. So let's go back to the let's go to an August 1st, 2026 Guardian article. This is different from the Guardian profile that appeared just 3 years ago that we quoted from, where Arday was sleek and meek. This one suggests that there might be more to Jason Arday's story than we know. Here's the headline. It is "Playbooks, Plagiarism, and a Pig's Head. New claims surrounding a star Cambridge professor." We'll get to the pig's head in a few minutes. Let's start with the claims of plagiarism. No one is surprised when academic superstars are accused of plagiarism anymore. It's been an ongoing theme in news coverage for years. The West's most prestigious universities regularly promote liars and idea thieves up to positions of power in the classroom and in the administration. You will remember the recent scandal over former Harvard President Claudine Gay. Manhattan Institute writer Chris Rufo and Washington Free Beacon writer Chris Brunet broke a story in 2023 exposing Claudine Gay's academic deception at Harvard. There she is again, to remind you. You may notice some shared characteristics. Quote, "In 4 papers published between 1993 and 2017, including her doctoral dissertation, Claudine Gay, a political scientist, paraphrased or quoted nearly 20 authors, including 2 of her colleagues at Harvard University's Department of Government, without proper attribution, according to a Washington Free Beacon analysis." That's the paper that we took this quote from. Next quote. Other examples of possible plagiarism, all from Claudine Gay's dissertation, were publicized Sunday by the Manhattan Institute's Chris Rufo and Substack's Carl Stack's Chris Brunet. We covered that story here on Disaffected, and it was obvious that Gay was guilty of academic fraud. She lost the presidency of Harvard, but she kept her $900,000 a year tenured faculty position. The Wheel of Fortune appears to be turning against Jason Arday in the same way. People suspected something interesting was coming when Jason Arday recently addressed the British Sociological Association's conference earlier this year in 2026. Back to the Guardian article. Quote, "The youngest black professor in Cambridge University's history told an audience of his peers that the playbook in question had helped him bring down some of the biggest, the playbook in question helped bring down some of the biggest names in U.S. academia." Next quote. "Conservative activists were trawling through the work of black academics looking for anything to use against them. Inconsistencies, citation errors, passages in their work that were similar to existing papers." This is what Jason claimed in his speech to the British Sociological Association. Now, The Guardian says that audience members who were there for that conference thought Arday's speech took a pretty odd tone. Why was he talking about alleged racism and harassment in his keynote speech at a sociological conference? All became clear the first week of August this year. The UK's newspaper, The Telegraph, broke a story about Jason Arday's academic record. And the man is, or maybe by the time you see this, has already come out with a memoir published by Simon & Schuster. But then, as you've probably guessed, racism struck. Quoting from The Telegraph, "On one side of the argument are professors at other universities who believe Professor Arday's published works, including his PhD thesis, contain passages that are remarkably similar, and in some cases identical, to other academic papers without proper attribution." Continuing in The Telegraph, "On the other side of the argument are friends and close colleagues of Professor Arday, the youngest black professor in the university's history, who believe that he is a victim of a racist smear campaign and have tried to make that an issue for the government." Now, The Telegraph ran Jason Arday's PhD thesis against a 2009 PhD thesis by another student at another university named Paula Zwodziak-Myers. The Telegraph claims that Arday mentioned this student's work at least 17 times in his PhD thesis, but he did not properly credit and did not disclose that the ideas and sometimes the exact words were hers, not his. Here are a few side-by-side examples. In this one, extract 1, I'll read to you from Jason Arday's PhD thesis. "Student teachers, for example, who concern themselves with diagnosing ways to challenge all pupils within a mixed ability setting might experiment with a range of approaches facilitated by the utilization of new insights and understanding gained from reflection to inform teaching practices." That's Jason Arday. Here is Ms. Zwodziak-Myers in her 2009 thesis. "Student teachers, for example, concerned to find ways to challenge all pupils within a mixed ability setting might experiment with a range of approaches and use new insights and understanding to inform future planning." One more side-by-side comparison, again pulled from the Telegraph article. Jason Arday. "Perceptive reflection on practice links to teaching and feelings. Receptive reflection on practice relates personal views to others' views. Interactive reflection on practice links learning with future action. Critical reflection on practice places individual teaching within a broader system." Now let's turn to Ms. Zwodziak-Myers' 2009 paper. "Perceptive reflection on practice links teaching to feelings. Receptive reflection on practice relates personal views to others' views. Interactive reflection on practice links learning with future action. Critical reflection on practice places individual teaching within a broader system." The remaining examples are in exactly the same style and with just as much verbatim plagiarism. It's obvious. We've been on this merry-go-round before. You know what's coming. Are you ready for it? Naturally, Jason Arday says that everything he's claimed about his past, personal and professional, is real. Naturally, he also says that plagiarism charges are overblown. He just made mistakes, he said. And the people who claim otherwise are racist whites who hate black people. He told the UK's newspaper The Times the following on July 31st, quote, "I am accountable for the mistakes I've made. I hold myself accountable and other people should hold me accountable. We're talking about academia here. I didn't murder somebody. I think the cruelty that I've experienced and the positioning of me as this kind of liar and fantasist is totally unacceptable." You see the double talk. He says, "I'm accountable," but immediately follows that up with indignation that anyone would actually hold him accountable, or describe him as the pathological liar that he obviously is. Nothing for the screen here. I'm just going to read to you a little bit more from this Guardian article. Quote, "As well as scrutiny of his academic record and fundraising history, Arday claims to have been the victim of a campaign of physical abuse and intimidation. Arday began being sent racist emails as soon as he took up his position at Cambridge, becoming so intense that his emails had to be screened. But the messages paled in comparison to the other incidents the academic said he faced. In an open letter to the government minister Jackie Smith in 2025, which outlined Arday's experiences, he claimed to have been, quote, threatened with a knife, physically assaulted, spat on. He had rape and death threats being made to him and his family, bananas and bullets being posted to him via the university campus, and corrosive substances and mutilated animals sent to his family home." End quote. I'm trying to underplay this a little bit and cut my usual histrionics because what need to gild the lily, but it's really hard not to laugh. So he's been threatened with a knife. He's been threatened with rape. He's been threatened with murder. People are posting bananas and bullets at him. I don't know what that does. That mean that they put the piece of fruit and a bullet into a box and then put it in the university postal system? That's unclear. And the mutilated animals part, that's where we're circling back, closing the loop with you about the pig's head earlier. He claims that someone boxed up and delivered a severed pig's head to his home. How? By Deliveroo? Well, surprisingly, The Guardian actually did some on-the-ground reporting and went behind him to check these claims. I know. I was as shocked as you are. Apparently, local police and butcher shops deny Arday's claims that anyone ever bought a pig's head during that time period. The police said there had never been any police reports nor any police investigation of this alleged incident, or even documentation that Jason Arday had even reported these crimes. Well, of course, because they didn't happen, obviously. Then Jason Arday said the following to his interviewer about his upcoming Simon & Schuster memoir, quote, "I always wanted to be a person who flew close to the sun, but sometimes I wonder, did I fly too close?" In the next part of the show, we're going to look at the people who promoted Jason Arday to the heights of academia. Why did they do it? What did they think they were seeing in him? And how have they reacted to the allegations against their black superstar? But before that, there's one more telling passage from that fawning 2023 Guardian profile. It gets right to the heart of the issue and the theme of this episode. Quote, "That doesn't mean it has been easy. He, Jason, has spent the whole of his academic life masking," he says, "hiding or minimizing aspects and traits of neurodivergence." You've been hearing a lot lately about autistic people allegedly masking all the time, putting up a front to hide their alleged neurodivergence. But genuinely autistic people can't hide their differences or disabilities. That's one of the ways that their condition is noticed. They're socially awkward, and most of them are unable to put up a false social front the way normal people can. The idea that autistic people, Think about what you know of autism. The idea that autistic people successfully mask their condition is ludicrous. It claims they're capable of exactly the kind of deceptive behavior that autists are known diagnostically to be unable to do. Think about that again for a second. You may have forgotten that because you've been hearing this masking so long that you've forgotten, many of you. I know you have because I talk to people all the time. You've forgotten that part of autism is that they're unable to hide their quirks. How do they become professional maskers then? Remember, you didn't hear about masking 3 years ago. It's new. Here's what Jason Arday says about his masking. Quote, I don't bring my neurodivergence into the workplace because capital B Black and ethnic minority people are often judged from the premise of not having the same level of competence as their white counterparts. It is fear of having anything further weaponized against me. Okay. The people who most successfully mask are those with antisocial personality disorder. Not autists, psychopaths. Superficial charm, glibness, pathological lying, and wearing a false social mask are part of the clinical definition of the psychopathic personality. This has been discussed in the professional literature since at least 1941, when psychiatrist Herve Cleckley literally wrote the book on it. It's on your screen. The title is The Mask of Sanity. I've banging this drum on disaffected for as long as I have for a reason. Cluster B personalities have always hid behind more sympathetic labels and misdiagnoses. That's what liars do, and cluster Bs are congenital liars. For years, the most common way to hide that was to get a, quote, bipolar or manic depression diagnosis, when the real problem was actually borderline personality disorder. Today, it's autism that's taken over as the favorite mask for the character disordered. This idea has exploded really quickly. Look at any popular public conversation about alleged autism in 2025 and 2026, and you find people describing things that don't sound anything like what we called autism even 10 years ago. Explosive, malicious rage, tantrums, threats of suicide, physical violence, pathological lying. Really think about that. Think about the fact these people are claiming that autistic people are characterized by a series of unbelievable lies. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Making up a fantasy character to represent yourself so convincingly as an autist that people believe that you ran 600 miles in 6 days and raised £5 million for charity as a volunteer marathon runner. People like this, people like Jason Arday, are very good at masking in front of certain kinds of people. People like him have always been good at it. We call that kind of person with that set of skills a psychopath. Come back on the other side to find out who promoted Jason Arday academically and how the Academy today is responding and defending his indefensible lies. Every day, another smart but small podcast starves to death because no one cares. Would you like to help one small podcast keep growing? Sure, we all do, and you can, starting at just $5 a month with a paid subscription to support Disaffected at subscribestar.com/disaffected, or you can become a supporting member through Substack at disaffectedpod.substack.com.
We would love to have your support because that is actually how we make the show and make it come to you every week. And if you sign up as a monthly supporting member, you get an invitation to our private members-only chat server in Discord, where we have topics from religion, hot-button political issues, general chit-chat, and lots of good people in there. I like to say that it is social media with 95% less nastiness. So we would love to see you there. If you don't want to sign up for yet another monthly debit, I understand that too. One-off donations and contributions are gratefully accepted. Couple ways for you to do it. Buy me a coffee. Well, you can buy us a coffee. That is ko-fi.com/disaffected. ko-fi.com/disaffected. Throw a little money in the cup. We'll thank you for it. You can also go to disaffected.com and click on support us. And if you want to kick it with me, school, send us checks or money orders, or even cash if you trust the U.S. Postal Service, to Disaffected Productions, 89 Main Street, Box 1027, Montpelier, Vermont, 05601.
And now Jason is days away from achieving another ambition.
Hey, so good to see you.
Here's his new boss at Cambridge.
We do have a lot of work to do, but I feel really optimistic.
There will be those that think this is a tokenistic appointment. What are your thoughts on this?
The board of electors on your interview day were absolutely unanimous. We are so lucky to have you. You are the best in the world in terms of the research that you do.
An extraordinary journey, but for Jason, this is not an end. It's a beginning.
The reaction has been amazing.
That woman you see there is Hilary Kremen of Cambridge University. Notice a few things about her. The gushing emotional greeting. The way she talks to him as if he were her son and she was feeling maternal pride. The superlative claim that he's the best in the world. The creaky vocal fry in her voice as she melts while they clasp hands. Oh, really wonderful. One Twitter user zoomed in on that hand clasp. We've got it in a still here. Look at that. Look at that. This is his introduction to his new professorship in a professional setting at Cambridge University, founded 1209. Yes, what you are seeing is an uncomfortable mixture of maternal and sexual emotion that is inappropriate to a professional environment. This may be Cambridge, but it's not what anyone used to think of as academia. Well, this is academia today. A hothouse of sexually frustrated, resentful white women who adopt black and brown children to satisfy their unmet needs while pretending that they're engaged in world-class research. Let me put too fine a point on it, because it's necessary. Look at the clothes this woman is wearing. This is a full professor at Cambridge. Look at her. Look at her outfit. This woman is in her 60s, if I'm a day. Why is she dressed like a cutesy, sexy, Catholic high school girl? Yeah, I know. That reads as normal to a lot of people because older women have been dressing ridiculously like this for years, but it is not normal. It is not dignified. It is not professional. It is embarrassing, silly, and immature. That's the no. Extreme infantile emotional immaturity is the baseline state of these women. And all of the feminized men who pal around with them, too. They're children. These people are children. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean actually in their minds they have the emotional development of children. It's humiliating. It should be humiliating to want to look like a cute, sexy schoolgirl at age 65. You are not a maiden, madam. You are getting into your crone years. That's not an insult either. You are in a stage of life when you are supposed to be a wise matriarch, a wise crone. Have you noticed that among these women? And this example is mild. Look how many of them from age, 40 to 65, they dye their hair pink or blue or stripes. They wear nose rings. They show off tattoos. What the hell have we become? These are the people who elevated this psychopathic, pathological liar to superstar status because they wanted a token black child to adopt. It's not more than that. It's not less embarrassing and more noble than that. That's all it is. It's just Madonna buying black babies in Malawi so that everyone will say what a very, very good, loving mummy you are. Well, as of August 5th, 2026, Jason Arday resigned from Cambridge University, but not before trying to burn other people down because they noticed his lies. This is from the UK's Committee for Academic Freedom. Headline, Jason Arday reported academic critic to police after questions over his research. Quote, Cambridge University's embattled academic superstar, Professor Jason Arday, reported a fellow academic to the police after being challenged over apparent inconsistencies, errors, and possible plagiarism in his work, raising troubling questions about the use of harassment law as a shield against awkward scholarly scrutiny in an increasingly litigious, low-trust society. Next quote. The academic was Dr. David Harris, Professor Emeritus at Plymouth Marjon University and one of the first scholars to raise concerns about Arday's doctoral thesis and several subsequent peer-reviewed publications on race, inequality, and education, including his treatment of concepts such as structural racism, whiteness, decolonization, and racial microaggressions. And by the way, if you are on audio, Dr. David Harris, the one that Jason Arday called the police on, is, of course, a tweed-wearing, respectable, 75-year-old looking white male academic, naturally. So how is academia at large reacting? You know where this is going. Let's stop for a minute and take stock of a few things. Refresh. Does this guy, Jason Arday, strike you in any way as autistic? Does he read as autistic to you in any way? You've seen him on tape. A gregarious extrovert who poses for pictures in world media with a wide-eyed grin seems autistic. A pathological liar who claims that he was on a television show that was produced 21 years before he was born. A congenital liar who claims that he is a victim of racism and a victim of Severance pig heads being left on his porch. How does any of that seem autistic to anyone? As a reminder, because everyone has quickly forgotten what they thought autism was in favor of the new definition, and the new definition is basically a cluster B personality disorder, all of this behavior is the exact opposite of autism. Autists are socially awkward. They don't seek the limelight. They have trouble communicating because they misread social cues. And they have big, big trouble lying. They don't like dishonesty. Jason Arday is not autistic. He was never autistic. And I don't believe one single claim about his childhood. I don't believe that he was mute until he was 11. I don't believe that he was diagnosed with autism at age 3. Has anybody checked with any of the doctors? There's ways to find this stuff out, even if it's confidential. This can be found out. There isn't anything to find out. He didn't run 600 miles in 6 days. He didn't raise £5 million for charity. He wasn't on the television show 7 Up. None of this is true. No, it's obviously not true. He's not autistic. He's a malignant narcissist. He is a glib psychopath with superficial charm and a very weak mask. Anyone normal, anyone who wasn't primed to believe this bullshit would have seen through this immediately on first meeting. First time you sat down with him, you'd see it. He's not hard. It takes Cambridge University academics to be this stupid. Well, guess who is staking his hard-won world reputation on defending Jason Arday? You're not going to believe it. Maybe you will. The most world-renowned researcher on autism, Dr. Simon Baron-Cohen. And yes, because this always comes up, yes, they are related. Sacha Baron Cohen, the guy who did Borat, is Simon Baron Cohen's cousin. Their fathers are brothers. Here's what Simon Baron Cohen put out on Twitter in response to this. Quote, in 2014, we published the first large-scale study of suicidality in autism, subsequently widely replicated, revealing that 1 in 4 autistic people have planned or attempted suicide. That's why I'm very concerned about the impact of media coverage on Professor Jason Arday, who is autistic. He has been accused of plagiarism, and he was cleared of any academic misconduct following a rigorous investigation by Liverpool John Moores University. And yet he continues to be systematically discredited over every detail of his life daily. We should, of course, always investigate plagiarism to protect academic standards. However, I cannot stand by and watch when an autistic man is on the ground and the kicking continues. This is relentless bullying of a vulnerable autistic man, and it raises safeguarding issues. It's time to stop. End quote. This man, Dr. Simon Baron-Cohen, is the world's leading expert on autism. He is the Einstein of the academic study of autism. And he cannot see through the obvious, absurd, years-long set of lies told by Jason Arday. Did you notice what Baron Cohen did? He did suicide emotional blackmail. He accused everyone who called Jason Arday the liar that he is of being an abuser who's going to push a vulnerable autistic man into suicide. No cluster B behavior disgusts me more than that. And yeah, I am saying that Simon Baron-Cohen is acting just like I would expect a cluster B narcissist to act. Because I think that he is one. I think he's a sociopath covering for a man that he knows is also a sociopath. That is my opinion. My mother did this to her children. Of all the abuses that she inflicted on us, threatening to kill herself because of our actions was the most evil. Here are some more academics who are supporting this poor, vulnerable man. This one is Jacqueline Mackenzie, a black woman in the UK who describes herself as a solicitor and partner at Lee Day Law, leading on Windrush, immigration, asylum, racial justice, and reparations. I don't have a British black woman accent, or I would do it because I do thoroughly intend to humiliate this idiot. Quote, there's no quote for you to put up, Kevin. Jason was clearly hounded by people with an agenda, particularly ones with distasteful and discredited views on race. They, in turn, were fueled by a ravenous media which thrives on people's downfall and other nefarious commentators. But Jason's fate was sealed as the discussion moved from plagiarism to his scholarship, to his character, in a way we've not seen before. I bet a lot of people didn't notice what she just slipped in there. Did you notice it? She assumed that criticizing his character, his moral character, was out of bounds. That broke the rules. That everyone knows you never criticize character. That's ludicrous, but it's become accepted. You don't notice it anymore when someone complains about character attacks. You side with them because we've all been collectively bullshitted into believing that this outrageous lie that moral character is off limits for criticism. When did that happen? Character is off limits? Yeah. You see how that puts character disorders, otherwise called personality disorders, such as cluster B, you notice how that puts that outside the bounds of allowed criticism and discourse? Whose interest does that serve? Character disordered people. That's whose interest it serves. Target people's bad character. When you notice it, call it out and label it bad moral character. Name it. Do it out loud in public and do it repeatedly. Speak over everyone, like this clown Jackie. Character does matter. It matters more than anything else. Certainly more than your academic credentials. There's I think it's an NGO, it's a leftist organization in the UK called the Good Law Project. And that group has been participating in the cancellation of conservative figures, and it regularly smears the good character of people who've actually done nothing wrong. They're defending Jason Arday too. Here's a tweet, and we're going to follow it up with the video. This is from the Good Law Project. Jason Arday is the youngest capital B black professor in Cambridge's history, and now right-wing newspapers are trying to smear him with untrue accusations of plagiarism. Not on our watch. And add your name in solidarity with Jason here, and they present a petition. Let's listen to this little chippy tell us about it.
You might have not heard who Jason Arday is. Jason is the youngest black professor in Cambridge's history, and to the surprise of literally no
Bird
one,
hands.
from the start, newspapers like the
Bird
Telegraph
hands.
and the Times have been calling him a diversity poster boy and just overall annoying him. But now they're taking it a step further, and they're trying to smear him with accusations of plagiarism, basically saying his work isn't his own and trying to discredit him. And it's really interesting because it doesn't matter that academic journals, universities, everybody that has looked into these claims has found no evidence of plagiarism whatsoever. The newspapers do not care. And we have to talk about it. A baseless smear campaign against a distinguished black academic isn't just a personal attack. It's an attempt to shut down a black person who has a platform, and they keep doing this again and again. Again, just with Missin, just with Jason. And it's gotten to a point where we have to say, we're not going to let them. We have to do something about this. But we know that these newspapers will only listen to public pressure, and we need to send them a message loud and clear. If you want to join us, comment Jason. We'll send you a link to add your name to our open letter to stand in solidarity with Jason and to help us tell right-wing newspapers that, again, they can't say and do whatever they want. Not on our watch.
Yeah, twat, we can. We're going to close the show out with another obvious in-your-face example of everyday normalized psychopathy that has fooled millions of people. This kind works especially well because it's the maternal mask that women psychopaths wear. If you've fallen for one, don't feel bad. I've fallen for them too, not just my mother. Come back after the break, and I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm going to confess how bad my female psychopath radar was before I woke up to reality. Do you see the psychopathy all around us? Do you see the narcissism, the dishonesty, and the abuse heaped on people who tell the truth? Does it feel like you're alone on an island with no way off because the waters are filled with sharks that ought to be in a psych ward? And could you use somebody to talk about it with? Well, you found the right guy. Make an appointment with me at joshuaslocum.net. I offer hour-long, private, confidential consulting and coaching sessions. It's not therapy because I'm not a therapist, but it's conversation with someone who sees the craziness the way you do, and someone who lived it personally and came out on the other side. You know that I specialize in narcissistic and psychologically abusive thinking and behavior. Maybe you have a family member who shows signs of a possible personality disorder. Maybe you work with a group of people who are captured by queen bee narcissism and you can't even trust your coworkers enough to broach the topic. You can bring it up with me. Whether you have a specific problem that you're trying to solve or if you need to get some frustration off your chest, that's what I'm there for. You'll have my eyes, my ears, and my attention for an entire hour to focus on what you need to address. There's no recording. There's no one to perform for. Helping you figure out your needs and how to meet them is what I do when we talk one-on-one. And now is a really good time to book because I'm offering a back-to-school discount. And you can take advantage of it even if you don't have any kids to send back to school. So for the next few weeks, I've cut my normal $125 rate to just $75 a session. Visit Joshua Slocum to book, and if you've got questions about calendar times, just send me an email through the site, joshuaslocum.net. In the 5 years that Kevin and I have done Disaffected, we've gone very heavy on cluster B women. Female narcissism, explosive emotional instability, manipulative sociopathic behavior is by far the most common expression of cluster B abuse in the West. It outstrips the male variety by a country mile because feminism has infected every single Westerner's mind. Not just liberals, conservatives too. Not just self-declared feminists, women who say they're not feminists too. The men they're married to too. Feminism is narcissism and resentment, and its biggest victory has been disguising a character disorder as a plea to aid vulnerable females. There's a reason why mothers like mine took women's studies in college, isn't there? Let's fuel up before we dive into that Gorgon snake pit, though. Candy bar companies want you to reach for a protein-packed sugar bar when you're hungry, but that's a scam. If you snarf down a chocolate bar or a bag of potato chips, you're just going to end up hungry and hangry later when your blood sugar crashes from all those carbohydrates. I think you should open a bag of biltong instead. What? Biltong. Biltong is a South African way of curing thinly sliced meat with vinegar and seasonings, and our friends at biltongusa.com make the best cured beef that I have ever had, and I want you to try it because I think that you'll like it as much as I do. Biltong tastes like what it is. It's high-quality beef prepared by a family business and shipped to your door from the great state of Texas in a cold pack. Just pop the bags in your fridge and pull one out when you're hungry. It's best actually at room temperature, and it keeps out of the refrigerator just fine in a bag for a couple of days. In fact, biltongusa.com sends you some paper lunch bags with every order, so you can just bring your biltong with you to your desk or while you're running around outside mowing the lawn, which I have to do. So if you like cured meat, if you like beef jerky, if you like that type of stuff, you're never going to go back to the ordinary kind after you try what's on offer at biltongusa.com. And when you order, don't forget to use promo code Josh and you will get 10% off. While the Western mind thinks of rapists and serial killers like Ted Bundy when it hears the word psychopath, the far more common type of conscience-free lizard is roaming free all around us everywhere, and they're not in the headlines for being rapists or serial killers. That's only a very small percentage of psychopaths. And this kind is female, and she goes almost completely undetected. She's not recognized for what she is. Usually she's seen as lovely, warm, safe for kids. She's everywhere, but do you know how to spot her? Take a look at this picture on your screen. That's Miss Rachel, kids YouTuber Miss Rachel, and I helpfully circled, in my artistic MS Paint style, her face, because that's where I want to draw your attention to. You can look at the two Goombas on either side of her and see some of the same things. That's Walter Masterson. He's one of those idiots who's been caught on camera protesting for all sorts of leftist crap before, too. Do you know what that scrunched up eyes, wrinkled nose, big smile facial expression, do you know what that is? Do you know... If you haven't heard of her before, your children may have heard of her. Miss Rachel is a YouTuber who makes learn to talk videos for infants and toddlers. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant for littles. She makes videos for littles. Miss Rachel has 20 million YouTube subscribers, 20 million. And the following is her style. I'm only going to show you a short clip because she's unbearable. She has thousands of hours of video in this style you're about to hear, and some of them are more than an hour long.
Love you when you're happy. I love you when you're sad. I love you when you make mistakes. I love you when you're mad. And it's a love that doesn't change no matter what you do. You can always count on me, loving precious you. I love you.
Get the fuck out of my face. I hate you. It's sweet, right? Isn't it? Miss Rachel is also a leftist activist. Surprise. And here's where some people are going to get mad. Get mad if you need to. She's been stumping for Gaza, free Gaza. You know, Hamas, because of course she is. You know, as an aside here, noticing correctly that Hamas is a designated terrorist organization and that the Palestinian leadership is in fact psychopathic does not make a person an unreflective supporter of everything Israel does everywhere all the time. That's nonsense, but people get accused of it all the time. Anyway, here is Miss Rachel defending herself on camera when people started to get a little bit verklempt about her Gaza advocacy. I want you to notice her affect, and I want you to listen carefully to her voice. If you've watched the show for any length of time, you know what this signifies.
Represent the business. I mean, I could care less. I have very strong morals and values. Write articles, attack me. I know who I am. God knows who I am. I'm here to serve children, and I will not back down.
I'm here to serve children. It's a cookbook! Fattening them up and going to throw them right in the oven. Let's put that, I asked you above if you knew what her facial expression actually communicated. Can we put that picture back up, Kevin? Take a good look at that loving smiley face. All right. Now, disaffectants, loyal viewers, audience members. What I'm about to say is not to insult your intelligence. I understand that many, probably most of you, see through this. But remember, this show is also trying to talk to a broader audience, and there are millions of people out there who are not as on the ball about this as you are, okay? Millions of people see this and they think something to themselves like, what a kind mom. What a sweet lady who likes kids. How non-threatening and safe she seems. That's why she wears that mask. This is the most common mask that female psychopaths wear. They choose it deliberately because it works. It works because that kind of facial expression, rightly or wrongly, is associated with maternal softness. Miss Rachel chose it because she knows that many people will be convinced by it. Most of them, broadly speaking about the population, will be instantly emotionally disarmed by this on a subconscious level. It's not a conscious decision. It hits in the gut. Hits wrong, but that's where it hits. Many people quickly and intuitively, without any conscious thought, will just default to maternal warm and caring. And once that happens, your deeper intuition and your executive processing is immediately shut off. You've been trapped and you don't know it. Notice how Miss Rachel augments that with clothing choices. Little girl clothes, little overalls, pink and blue, pink and blue. You better believe it's trans colors too. Little girl clothes, little girl stance. Oh, she's got her feet pressed together in the picture so she looks small and cute. That woman is dangerous and she's poison to children. Even if you did not recognize that, even if any of you or people you know fell for that mask, you probably do recognize this kind of female psychopath archetype already. My goal is to help people who listen to the show connect what you do know already to what you need to learn to more correctly recognize it in others and bridge that gap. So you know this kind of female psychopath, and you recognize the mask in the Harry Potter character Dolores Umbridge. You know what this is. You know what that character is. That's Miss Rachel. I hope that people will ask themselves privately, you don't have to admit it in public, just ask yourself this honestly in the privacy of your own mind. Did I fall for it? Have I fallen for this in the past? And if you did, it doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you're bad or anything like that. Psychopaths choose their masks because they work. You're not dumb if you fell for it. But if you did, you are dangerously naive. You are set up to be taken advantage of by a narcissistic and psychopathic personality type. I have been dangerously naive too. It's the common state of most humans. So please don't hear a personal moral condemnation. I'm not doing that. I want to help people see danger more clearly and see it sooner. I want that for you, but yes, I also want it for me. I have an interest in changing your mind to serve my interests. Because when you can't see the danger signals like this, then I and everyone else in society is in danger from your naivete too. You will take up with dangerous people who will do you harm, and you will put yourself, your children, your family, and me and my family at risk. The last time I'm aware of that I fell for this maternal mask worn by a female psychopath was in 2016. 10 years ago, I was still a liberal Democrat wokie. Now, I had just put my narcissist, borderline psychopath mother out of my house and out of my life just a few months before the November presidential election. I was beginning to wake up. I was beginning to come to moral sanity, but I was a long way from getting there more fully. Putting my mother out of my life was the first step, but I didn't know that at the time. I thought my mother alone was the only real problem that I had to solve. I was wrong. My lifelong relationship with my personality disordered mother had warped my thinking, my emotions, and my moral behavior to an appalling degree. Uncovering that over the next few years was horrifying, but necessary, right, and healthful. I wouldn't trade it for the world. If you're going through it too, I'm sorry, I know it hurts, but it's putting you on the path to moral health. So 10 years ago, I was still vulnerable to this shit. And in a way, I was even more vulnerable after I'd put my mother out of the house and I'd woken up to who she was. Why is that? Because at that time, forgive me, but I was having soul level grief. Because I was realizing for the first time that I had never had a mother who loved me, and that the woman I called mother harmed me and my brother and sister on purpose. All my life. It was the worst pain I've ever felt. It was deranging. It drove me nuts for a while. And I was still drowning in alcohol then too. I wanted a mother. I wanted a mother really badly. And I thought I found one in Hillary Rodham Clinton during the 2016 debate with Donald Trump. What I thought I saw that night was a brutal, abusive man who would kill Mrs. Clinton if he could get away with it. I perceived her as a vulnerable, good victim of a predator called Donald J. Trump. That night, I didn't understand why I was feeling and thinking the way I was. That only became clear in retrospect. Let's put this picture up on the screen, please, Kevin. I saw this image. You remember this debate. I saw this image, this maternal face in pretty makeup. And you know what I thought? She reminds me of Mrs. Brady, the mom I always wanted to be mine. That is actually what I thought. I looked at Hillary Clinton, and I saw a warm, caring mother. I saw a mother in danger from a very bad man. And I felt a parasocial love coming from Hillary Clinton to me. That was a delusion, obviously. Hillary Clinton is a psychopath, but I fell for it. I relate this to you so that you will understand and believe that I mean it when I say I'm not morally judging you if you fell for Miss Rachel's psychopath mask or someone else's psychopath mask. But I am urging you to sharpen your senses. I'm not mocking you because it was me too. Good night.